Yeah, you know.
Okay, now what?
ADHD.
Got no gavel.
What?
Are you here?
Good.
Use my phone.
Good.
It's a cue, sir.
I have to ask ChatGPT how to say somebody's last name.
Did you read this letter? Just said. Nope. This wasn't attached to your stuff? This letter? Oh, there we are.
There we go. Hello, hello. Good evening. Here's my gavel. We'll bring our meeting to order. Thank you for coming. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll ask that board members review the consent agenda items and let us know if you wish anything pulled. If not, we can,
I'll make a motion to approve the February 23rd, 2026 regular board meeting agenda as presented.
all right.
Support.
Great, lots of support. Boy, the board is moving today. Thank you. Any further discussion about the motion to approve the meeting agenda? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Same sign. All right, motion carried. We have an agenda. That brings us to our presentation. So,
I didn't turn my own on. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lassa, for letting us present today. My name is Romeo Bernage. I'm the principal here at the high school. I'll welcome you to the Wildcat Den. We love this space, and we love that you guys can be here to share in it and see all that we have to offer here at Alpena High School. But with no further ado, what I want to do is turn it over to our robotics team, 5505. They are our group that is currently working to build a robot and get ready for the season, which is going to start in less than a month. And so Danielle McDonald, who is a mentor on the business side, called and said, could we do a presentation here? And it was my turn to present, so I said, absolutely. Just because it's great for everybody to see what they do. It's a ton of work. They're here. If you drive by in the front oval and you see cars on a Saturday or Sunday, it is typically our robotics crew. Our mentors that are here, they represent many different factions of the business community, engineering community, and they're here equally as much. So I appreciate all that they do to make this program successful, but it's really led by the students with the mentors guiding them, and it's a long-standing tradition. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Liam and Gabe and Danielle, who are going to lead the presentation for you for AHS Robotics. So thank you.
Thanks again for having us. So we are Team 5505. The quick history is the original Team 5230 was started in 2014, was a resounding success. And so we had two sister teams up until 4 years ago, when kind of just the financial sponsorship and the kid involvement kind of declined a little bit. So to retain our history and our success, 5505 is what lives on. This is a program designed to really enable our kids to go out and be leaders in our community. FIRST is a very well-known worldwide organization for robotics and all things STEM. It started in 1985, so quite a while ago, in Pontiac, Michigan, and like I said, now is a worldwide organization. It's designed to really be led by the students. So as mentors, we are not building this robot. We're leading and teaching them to use equipment, learn to CAD. These robots are a 10-week project. January 10th, we came in, we got our kickoff of what our new game and challenge for the year was, And the kids have to completely design, CAD, build, program the robot within 10 to 12 weeks before their first competition. On the flip side to that, there is also a business side to the team. So this is a full understanding of what an organization is and how it operates before they get to the real world. So business is running all kinds of, we have business plans, we work on financials, they learn how to present to both our judges, but also in our communities at grant applications and exhibits with children and our adults. And so they also work on our fundraising efforts to fund a quite pricey program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liam. He is a senior on our team this year and has been with us for 4 years.
Hey guys, I sang a little too hard at Winterfest on Saturdays, so my voice might tune out a little bit. But this is our robot from last year. As Mrs. McDonald said, we get a short 10 or 11 weeks to plan for the new game that's released, design the robot, build it, wire it, program it, test it, and all the while the business team is going head over heels to just fundraise and make sure that we can afford the parts we need and the travel for our team. I'll talk a little bit about my experience through our robotics program. I am very fortunate to have been tossed into a friend group of mostly seniors going into my freshman year, and one of them invited me to this robotics team for our first meeting of that year. I was like, I don't know anything about robots. Like, how does that pertain to me at all? And after a while, he convinced me, because if some of you know, Will Bushy is a very persuasive person. And I went to the first meeting, and I thought maybe I'll give business a try. I did not like that side of the team. It just was not for me. So I jumped over to mechanical, and I didn't know anything. I mean, I could use a screwdriver, I could use a drill, but that was about it. And we have just about every tool you could think of in that room. So I had a lot of learning to do, and we're very fortunate to have, like Mr. Bordash said, a great team of mentors who are very welcoming and very thoughtful and incredibly compassionate. And I learned so much in that first year. I mean, it blew me away. So I had to stick with it sophomore, junior year. Junior year, I took a few steps back just because of how busy it gets that year of high school, and I still learned an incredible amount. And going into this year, we weren't sure if we were going to have a program because we didn't really have a head coach, and there were all these questions being raised, and I was like, maybe I've learned everything I have about this program. I was like, maybe I've got everything in my brain, and I was wrong. I went to the first meeting of the year, and I quickly realized that we did not have that many people, and enrollment has been a problem for us. But went anyways, and I have learned more in this last year, just these first couple months of the season, than I have all of high school. And as one of the lead designers, it has been an incredibly educational experience that I'm very, very thankful for. And I don't know quite what I'm going to do once I get my engineering degree from whatever school I go to, but I will have so much experience to help guide me in whatever decisions I make. And I owe this program a lot. It has taught me so much. I think that covers my spiel. So I'll give it to Gabe here.
Hi, I'm Gabe Robinson. I'm a 13th year in the early college program, and I have been doing robotics since I was a junior, so the 2024 and 2025 season. I mostly started out just helping with small projects on the mechanical side. Didn't really know a whole lot. Like Liam, I knew how to use a screwdriver and a drill. But over the past couple years, I've definitely developed a lot more communication, leadership, mechanical, business skills, the whole deal. And I feel like it'll really help me, land jobs, go through higher education, just everything. And again, like Liam, I owe the program a lot.
So we can take some questions a little bit while they kind of show off how last year's robot operates a little bit. The ball does get thrown, so we apologize if we hit you. We'll try not to. So, but I'll let them run it around. But does anybody have any questions about the program or first, or any questions for the kids in particular?
And if anybody wants to come up, feel free to come on up so you can see it. You are.
Yes, please, absolutely. In addition, like Berdaj said, we are here this week. The kids are here in the lab until at least 7 o'clock every night this week, trying to get everything ironed out so we can start programming. So if there's a break, or if you guys are done and want to wander down D House, lower D House is where our lab is, and anytime we are open, you are more than welcome to come through and just kind of poke your nose in and ask questions and see what they're up to. Go ahead.
Mr. Capelas.
Capeless question.
Of course, Capeless has a question.
I'm a plant. How much does the program cost to run for the year?
That's the million-dollar question. So as you can see, they're pretty big pieces of equipment. These are specialized mechanics. 2 years ago, we bought a brand new drive system that allows us to be more competitive with just the way technology is going. So this is about an $80,000 a year program. That includes buying the software to program, the parts that needed to be made. Everything on there has to have replacements, because you're gonna get bumped and broken around. At competitions, they have to fix that on the fly. And then just the cost of going. So these are 3-day competitions when we go to both our state qualifications and then state competitions themselves. So that's 2 nights in a hotel, that's feeding children, that's transporting them for 3 days. So it's pretty costly. Then if they have the honor and the privilege of going to the World's competition, that is in Houston. So the last time we went, that was 7 days on a bus, cross country with 23 kids. So that's, a whole nother cost that's above and beyond that 80 grand a year. So go for it.
So you said at the beginning of the year that there wasn't a lot of students. Do you have now 9th graders that have joined on?
Yeah, so this year we have 9 total students. First says kind of the best number to have a successful team that's not burnt out is in the ballpark of about 20 kids. So like the boys said, their hands are in a little bit of everything right now. This year we have just seniors, just freshmen. So it's going to be interesting for the next couple of years, because the idea behind First, and especially with our team, is developing that leadership. So the seniors teach the juniors teach the sophomores, and the freshmen come in and are like, there's nothing to do, I can't do, but you're learning, So it's kind of frustrating for the freshmen that first year. But this year's an exception for those freshmen. We're like, well, here you go, hop right in, ask a question, grab a tool. And so, it's a really good program in that aspect. But when it's a tiny team, it's an added challenge. So. Yeah. So typically when we're at competitions, these are wireless. They're not hooked up to wires. So he doesn't really like to run tethered very much. When they go to competitions, it is a 3-on-3 competition. So one of the first coined terms is cooperation. So you are looking to build an alliance with 3 teams to play 3 teams, but you don't necessarily want to break those bots. This isn't battle bots, and you don't really want to have that aggressive competition, because you might be playing with one of those robots in the next one. So we go to competitions, it's 40 matches that they play before they get whittled down to in their rankings to enter into finals competitions. So with that, they learn a lot of that strategy when they're in games, how to work with people that maybe in that last match they were against, So a lot of that grace and forgiveness, making sure that they're good leaders, and then strong competitors as well.
As a team, what would you say the biggest obstacle is this year to overcome?
This year, the biggest obstacle is kids. That's the hardest part from an overall team. When we're looking at the actual game itself, there are a lot of repeat elements from prior games if you've watched any of the competitions. So one of the things we see quite often is a ladder type climb. Well, this year, instead of making it more monkey bars, it's a straight up climb. So the kids are finding that that's kind of an interesting and very challenging obstacle. You get ranking points that help you gain, rankings in the leadership board. And some of that is tied directly to that ladder. So, just trying to navigate how to do that best. Apparently Big Arnold doesn't want to show off today.
Can you tell us about the game this year that they're preparing for?
Yeah, so this year it's an interesting game. I enjoyed last year's a lot more. The theme seemed to fit. So there are actually 3 levels of first. There's a Lego League for elementary, there's a tech challenge for the junior high, and then there's first robotics for the high school ages. And then all of them have the same kind of theme. So this year it's very much around like archaeology, digging and recovery and type elements. So one of the objectives of this match is the ladder climb, which would symbolize climbing out of your digged hole. And then the other element is they collect, it's about this big, foam balls. So they're collecting their artifacts and bringing them to a collection bin. It's quite tall, so it's almost like a basketball shot. And so the more balls you collect, the higher you climb. The more often you climb, you get more ranking points. I do not go to the technical side of the room because noises like that make me uncomfortable. But they have a size and a weight requirement that they have to stay in. Last year they lowered the weight requirement. They have to stay under 115 pounds. So this is why you'll see some of the holes in the robot. We call it the Swiss cheesing effect. So if we don't quite meet that, we just kind of drill some strategic holes to bring our weight down. They also have, every year they kind of change it, just how wide and how long and how tall you can be. So they do put limits on that arm reach. Depending on the game, those change from year to year. Last year was a coral reef cleanup game. So the idea was to get in there and take the balls, which were algae, out of the coral and out of the ocean and put them in the barge to be removed, and then take the coral, the PVC, and put it back on the reef. And so that's why you see the elements that we have there. Unfortunately, at Brown Trout, we popped all of our algae balls, so we're making do with a smaller ball this year.
That lets us pop this game piece right into it, that we would then drop onto a branch after it lifts up. So there were about 3 levels to each. It was a water-based game, so we were putting onto coral trees, and so this would go up into the arm and then slide down off onto a branch that was like in a kind of J shape, And this was the most unique part of our robot last year. We didn't really see anybody with anything even remotely similar. And we even won a mechanical award for it at, I think it was Ferris? We won a mechanical award at one of our competitions for it.
Any last questions?
Does the head rotate?
But we have a charging system for it. So it was kind of on like a hexagonal shape, the base was, and you just line right up to it, and then
So we do have socials out there. We just put a link out to this year's game reveal, but there's also a game reveal to last year if you kind of dig through the history, if you ever wanted to go out and see those. You can also find them on First Inspire's YouTube channel. Well, we thank you very much for letting us come and present to you guys. And like we said, if you ever want to come through the lab and see things, you're more than welcome to come on in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of nice work there, boys.
Thank you all very much. Okay, that brings us to public comment. And in our last regular meeting, I made reference to one of our policies, 0167.3, with the intent of making sure that public comment was not any more direct and inflammatory towards these employees than it needed to be. The policy is this. It's Section E of the policy I just referenced. Individuals addressing the board must take into consideration the rules of common courtesy. Public comment should not be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or a school district employee by name. Individuals who have concerns or complaints against a board member or employee are encouraged to make that complaint in writing to the superintendent and/or board, or in a meeting with the superintendent or superintendent's designee. If a citizen wishes to issue a complaint against a specific board member or employee, the member or employee has the right to request a closed meeting to hear the complaint or charge. Section 8A of the Open Meeting Act. So regarding the recent internet video mocking my attempts to protect our employees and staff, because that is the context that some chose to ignore in spite of the fact that I literally said that's what the comments were for, and create a civil environment where people can voice their concerns to their school board, I'll say this. Childish videos and cheap out-of-context shots to score political points are easy, but you know what's not easy? creating a safe space which protects our employees from unfair or unsubstantiated attacks while still allowing the public to voice their concerns. Now, this policy is over 20 years old, so long before my time, but I stand by it, and I will always remind the public to be civil and respectful towards our employees whenever I feel it's warranted. And I'd like to say thank you for the recent public comment, which, though challenging, showed civility and respect and has allowed the board to investigate the matter without dragging employees' names through the mud. Now, regarding board members, the policy says, public comment should not be used to make personal attacks against a school board member by name. That's a quote, and also a quote, if a citizen wishes to issue a complaint against a specific board member, the member has the right to request a closed meeting to hear the complaint or charge. So one might reasonably ask, have I ever been attacked or criticized by name in public comment? Oh yes. Have I ever attempted to invoke this policy from this chair or any other to suppress unfavorable comments? No. And I didn't attempt to invoke any policy to protect the board back on October 20th when someone got up and, after having seen 2 items on the agenda that were historically about student growth and achievement, and then listening to us talk about student growth and achievement for easily over an hour, yes, this person stood up and claimed that we didn't have anything on the agenda for that meeting about student achievement and that we didn't follow up on it, a statement that was patently false. So a reasonable person might conclude that all I'm looking for is for those making public comment to show civility and respect, especially to each other and our employees, so that this can be a safe space for all to voice their concerns to their Board of Education, especially since this is what I have actually said, in spite of what you might have heard elsewhere. And with that, let us proceed.
I'm Yvonne Johnson, a proud Alpena High grad and township resident. I'm the sponsor of the recall of board members Lawson, Costain, and Dzinski. I initiated the recall to put the job performance of these board members on the November ballot. At issue are their decisions to 1, reject a $150,000 grant to create a rain garden at Alpena High. 2, award a paving contract to a higher bidder, paying $3,600 more for what your senior project manager called a lower grade product. And 3, add the radical right Coleman Legal Group as counsel, shopping for lawyers to provide cover for an unnecessary, discriminatory potty policy. I also want to hold Costain to account for her pattern of absenteeism, skipping more than 1/3 of all 2025 board meetings. I take our kids' education and this recall seriously. So I was appalled when you made snide comments about the recall at the February 16th workshop. Let's talk about civility. At that meeting, IT Director Andrew Reinhardt explained bids for the district technology and recommended overlooking the lowest bid because it does not meet the district requirements. Makes perfect sense. When Reinhardt mentioned some other concerns, Member Hansen said, "Don't worry, they won't use any of your words against you." Lawson chimed in, "At least that's been our experience." And Dzinski said, "You can't get recalled, Andy." Those are exact quotes, not taken out of context, but verbatim. And y'all had quite a laugh too, didn't you, after that? So your callousness shows disregard for community feedback and the recall, which is actually a fundamental democratic process. It's a safeguard. Your strategic plan calls for increased family, community, and employee engagement, but you ignore or ridicule our input. As recently as your December and January meetings, you discussed your strategic plan and the pillars to boost collaboration, and you likely will again tonight. Yet you repeatedly belittle those who share our concerns. Passive-aggressive comments cloaked as jokes demonstrate that you do not respect us, the community you represent. When you took office, you assumed the responsibility to serve all our kids and us, even those you don't agree with.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Tabitha Heltzley. I have 4 girls that go to school within the APS school system, and I've had quite an experience, so I just wanted to come and voice my concerns about a few that I've most recently had, and hope that you guys do with what you will with it. First off, I have a child that's in junior high this year. A few months ago, I had found that she had been on YouTube Shorts for nearly 4 hours during school, in the classroom for 4 hours. I don't allow YouTube in my house. Those are my rules. Nobody has to agree with them, and I don't care. I was appalled. I emailed all of the teachers and the principal and explained that this was unacceptable, that my child is very much capable of straight A's, and that in that moment, she actually had a D in one of her classes. So I emailed these teachers and the principal expressing my concerns about this. I received responses from about half of them saying, "No, not in my class." The other half, no response. A few days later, a response from the principal saying, "Let me know if this isn't resolved." Fast forward a couple months later, again, I find her misusing her Chromebook. I, at this point, am very upset because this is just absolute nonsense at this point. And I go in and I address it to get a response from the principal stating, "I don't know what they're allowed to access. That's IT." When asking if that can be blocked from my child's Chromebook, the response was, "Yeah, we'll get on that." However, the following day I got a call saying, "Well, in order to block it, it has to be in a 504 plan. Thankfully, your child has one, so we'll add it in." Do you know what it takes to get a 504 plan? You can't just get one of those. That's one. Second one, 4th grade. They're doing a piloting program for math. I have a child that is in 4th grade. She's a very good student. She has failed her last 3 math tests, along with almost 80% of her class. It is a situation that needs to be looked into. On top of all of that, I had to fight for my daughter that's in junior high to have access to a microwave this year that she has had access to since she was in 2nd grade because she has extreme dietary restrictions due to several health situations. We've never had an issue. She was utilizing it, was told she couldn't, then was told she could, and then she was told she couldn't. And it got to the point where they were discussing maybe she should bring a thermos every day or even a crock pot. I don't know why I have to fight to get my children access to a good education, equal availability for a warm meal. My kids are my everything.
Thank you very much.
My name is Diane O'Connor, and I live in Alpena. At last month's regular board meeting, I had a question for the board president regarding the Coleman Legal Group. The pretense for reaching out to Coleman Group last spring, as stated repeatedly by this board president, was to obtain a third opinion on the Fairview bathroom policy that board members Dzinski, MacArthur, Costain, and President Lawson were eager to institute. At that time, both Troon Law and the ACLU had submitted opinions that strongly advised against the policy in that it would violate the Michigan Constitution and likely incite a very expensive and prolonged lawsuit. The community was told the reason for reaching out to Coleman was to garner a third opinion. It remains quizzical why a public school board president would be seeking an opinion from an extremist law firm with an anti-public school agenda. But nonetheless, that's what transpired. Ultimately, APS signed a contract with Coleman. However, the public was never made aware of Coleman's opinion on the bathroom policy. I would like to thank Board President Lawson for eventually responding to my email when I asked what Coleman's opinion was on the bathroom policy, but I was shocked, stunned, that the response was, and I quote, "There has never been a formal opinion issued by Coleman on the Fairview bathroom policy." So, in a request for transparency from this board president, I'm asking 2 questions this evening that I'm hoping will be answered during the board comment time at the end of the meeting. Number 1, the singular reason for reaching out to this particular father and son extremist group. Number 2, if Coleman, why would this be acceptable to this board and to this board president? Again, this is a matter of transparency, and there are many community members who would appreciate forthright answers to these questions.
It's come to my attention that for choosing a paving quality asphalt is false. I worked in asphalt paving for over 5 years and then in building trades for 3 decades. Excuse me. So I know a thing or two about asphalt paving. Each application requires a different mixture or recipe. It is not a bottle of ketchup from a grocery store shelf. It's mixed per application. The data you have to, the data you have that Goodrich has lower quality asphalt? None. But if you want to continue with your charade and putting it in writing for Goodrich to read, tell them that. The narrow, myopic thinking some members is more worthy of recall than a weak partisan game U.S. agnostic are playing by trying to recall these board members. Your political theater won't be rewarded. It will be a waste of time and taxpayer money. I encourage you to drop your partisan nonsense and work together for the betterment of the schools, the parents, and the children instead of abusing the people that have been elected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's nobody else, we'll proceed with our agenda. Action items. First up is the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second. Second from AJ. Very good. All right. Let's have a show of hands if you approve the consent agenda items. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. All right, that brings us to additional business requiring board action. The first item would be the Chromebook bid proposal. Could you hear that? That's a motion from AJ to approve the purchase of 320 Chromebooks from Vivacity in the amount of $111,920.
Second.
Second from Sarah. All right. Discussion. Okay. If there's no discussion, let's proceed with a roll call vote on this item.
Member Fritz?
Support.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Costain?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Dzinski? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the E-rate bid proposal. I'll read the motion. The recommendation is a motion to approve the purchase of the Fortinet FortiGate 200G next generation firewall protection and 5 years of FortiCare Premium and FortiGuard Unified Threat Protection Services in the amount of $19,427.89.
I would offer that motion.
Support.
All right, is there any discussion about this motion? Hearing none, let's proceed with a roll call for that too.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski? Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain?
Aye.
Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. That brings us along to the 457B adoption, which we discussed last time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed 457B retirement plan amendment as presented.
Second.
All right, second from AJ. Any discussion? Seeing none, show of hands for support. Any opposed? Same sign. All right, motion carried. Thank you. Next item is the AMA APS lease agreement. We do have our representative here if you want to ask him any questions.
I move to approve the SOAR room renovation project at Ella White School and the associated 10-year lease subject to the following conditions.
Second.
Not going to read all the conditions.
All right. Is there any discussion?
Dave, we had asked about the 10-year thing and the length of that.
And I talked to Justin about that. You know, they're putting in about $163,000 into a building that they don't own. So this gives them some security over the term of the lease. You know, that they're investing 15 years and whittled it down to 10, which seemed like an appropriate length. And I think Justin reiterated his preference for, or desire for a 10-year lease as well. So it far exceeds those 10 years, and the program does too.
Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, 2026, 2027 calendar planning. We had discussed an August 31st date, but there had been also I think for some of us there was a question about what happens. You know, here we are at this point, we're into having to make up days. I just sort of wanted to open the floor to discuss this issue about that date, and perhaps the superintendent has some remarks right off the bat, or?
Well, before I get to that, Simon, would you be able to bump it up a few more degrees?
Thank you.
Either we're sitting right underneath the window that's open, or. Do my best. Thank you. Appreciate it. So I don't have any, prepared comments. I will say that this process we negotiate with the teachers union on the calendar. They've taken this to their executive team, which approves it, which then brings it back for us. I think we talked briefly at the last meeting. There's a lot of entities that we're coordinating with, from the college to NEMSCA, AMA as well. So we all try to line our start dates we being the districts of AMA, so that it's easier to schedule, more efficient to schedule, because AMA have staff that go between multiple districts, and as aligned we can be in those calendar dates, the better it is for them, which then provides better services for students. You know, talking about moving it up a week in August, that would put our staff yet a week in advance of that, and then our new teachers would be coming back, I think, the first full week of August, which, you know, is pretty early. Again, when you're looking at regional districts, what's going on across the state, they typically don't come back and start at that point. On a personal note, if family time in summer is you know, the goal, the week in August, I think is more valuable than going in the week, an extra week into June. I think it rained until July 1st this past year. So, you know, people have reached out and shared those thoughts. Plus, too, with our employers, you know, kids coming back. The state of Michigan, I don't know how many years ago, put in that schools had to start after Labor Day for the tourist industry, so that students could stay employed. So we'd be backing that up yet a week beyond where we currently do. Could be a hardship for our employers.
Do we know if there's a limit on how far back from Labor Day we're allowed to go?
We weren't able to find anything in looking at the law. It just says you have to be off. If you start before Labor Day, you can't hold school the Friday of Labor Day weekend.
Any other comments or questions from board members on this issue? Yeah, go ahead.
I move we approve the 26-27 calendar as presented at our workshop.
Support.
Okay.
Can I
great.
just put it out there? Sarah circled it. No opening day off. Is that correct? In November?
Hunting Day?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a Sunday, I think, this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, wrong day. The 15th. Oh, yeah. I'm from the south.
Are these, the new teacher orientation days, those are off then? Those green days on this calendar?
They are
In
for
October
new
and March?
teachers, and they're typically the week before staff, whether the Thursday, Friday before the full staff returns. So it's a week in advance of the staff returning, the teachers.
No, October and March.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Say
okay.
that again?
No,
The new
October
teacher.
and March, those green days in October and March, those are new teacher orientation, so those are off?
The,
No, those are conferences.
yeah.
Those are conferences.
Conferences and new.
It's like PD just for new teachers, beginning teachers, I would assume, right? Is that? Oh,
The
here.
18th and the
Michelle's coming
19th?
up.
Yeah.
October and March, they're
Yeah.
green.
Here, let me give you the rundown here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have a potential for 3 days, August 19th, 20th, and 21st is going to be new teacher orientation. It just depends on what we need in the contract. Then we have opening week, which would be August 24th through 27th. We're required to have that Friday off. And then, that Friday would be off. The 31st we would start, and then that would be the starting of schools August 31st, 4 days that week, 4 days the following week, and then start full 5 days September 14th. The green days you see in there, we have October 12th is going to be a PD day, and then October 29th and 30th would be parent-teacher conferences with a half day on that Friday. Red days on your calendar are holidays that are off. And then the next PD day would be February 15th, and then March 18th and 19th would be parent-teacher conferences again.
So there's 2 green coded days.
Yeah.
There's new teacher, which is green, and then
Dark green is new teacher. New teacher orientation is only at the very beginning of the school year.
Okay.
So parent-teacher conferences in October and March.
Did we have support on that motion, right, AJ?
Yes. Now, my question is, since I think some of this is not information that we received at our workshop because, is that right? We were waiting for approval
It was
from
in
the.
it was in your email though this weekend, right? Yeah.
Right, but I mean this, I guess I'm trying to clarify, guys, your motion and second, was that for the August 31st start date or for the, for all of the presentation?
Just the start date.
I thought that's all.
Okay, I would say, just for clarity, let's go through the process, if people would like to amend that motion, just for clarity, because I feel like that was not entirely plain at the beginning of that motion.
All right, I'm going to try to get this. I move to amend the motion to state voting for start date or first day of school as August 31st.
I'll second that.
Would that be sufficient?
Yes, so we have a motion to amend the original motion to include the August 31st start date as the subject of the motion. Discussion on that amendment. Seeing none, all in favor of, sorry, Summer, all in favor of amending that motion, raise your hand. Okay, any opposed, same sign? Okay, so now that we have an amended motion to vote on, is there any further discussion on the amended motion? All right, seeing none, then show of hands for support of the motion to set the August 31st start date. Opposed, same sign? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, now I think we've got a clean slate to go on to the rest of the calendar. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 Alpena Public Schools calendar as presented.
Support.
Is there any further discussion on this motion? No? All right. Then all in favor of voting yes for the presented calendar, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have one. Sarah, you were a yes. Monica was a no, correct? Okay, thank you.
6-1.
Okay, that brings us then to the Safe, Warm, Dry bid, the summer 2026 package, including 06A general trades. Administration recommendation is to motion to award the bid from Clark Contracting Services in the amount of $721,400. Yes. Tony from Clark is here if you have any questions or would like any questions answered or any discussion from him.
I'll make that motion to award the bid.
Come on up, Tony.
Well, do we have a second?
Oh, sorry. Jumped the gun.
Second.
Okay, a second from Sarah. So we have some discussion. And would you like your discussion to take the form of a question for Tony?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not real comfortable, Tony, with I'm not real comfortable, Tony, with giving a award to a company as closely associated with the people that are overseeing the work.
Okay. What makes you uncomfortable?
Your clerk is inspecting Clark Services. It's kind of a close bond there. So I'm curious, how are you going to maintain the integrity of the inspections?
Yeah, I think that, you know, they carry the same name as Clark. They're a subsidiary to Clark Construction Company. I feel like we would hold them to almost a higher standard with them being associated with Clark Construction Company.
I've been around the block a long time, Tony, in the construction world. That's not generally how it goes. So and I guess my second question would be, how closely, or how is the subsidiary structured as far as leadership?
Yeah, so Clark Contracting Services has its own management and operations separate from Clark Construction Company. We all report up to our CEO, COO, but their side of things are completely separate from Clark Construction Company.
So
they have their own director of operations.
But there's one CEO, is that what you?
Correct.
So the same CEO is of Clark and Clark Services, there's just one step.
Yeah, it branches off to Clark Construction Company, Clark Contracting Services.
Wouldn't that be a really big conflict of interest?
That's kind of,
I mean, if it's the same company doing the inspecting that's doing the work, you know what they're gonna say.
That's where I'm coming from, Monica.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying inspect the work. We're managing it. I mean, inspection side of things, you have an architect, engineers, local municipalities are going to do the inspections, do the punch list, do quality control. At the end of the day, we are the management team representing the district. We're going to hold them to a high standard. And IDI, the architect, the local inspectors will have the same overview as they would any other contractor.
I can't say enough about Clark management for sure. Clark Construction has also done work for us, and we're pleased with it. When you look back at holding our contractors accountable in the last 3 years, we have a very bad example of where that relationship has not been effective, to the point where we had to part ways with our previous construction management firm. They were not advocating for the district, in our opinion. They were not doing their due diligence. Our staff was carrying a very heavy load in picking up the slack. All of that essentially went away when we moved to Clark Construction as a construction management firm. You know, Simon, Mary, and I have been very pleased with every aspect of working with them. And that's why we brought this recommendation forward. I personally have full faith and confidence in Tony and his team to make sure that the work's done, is done properly, and their history has been, it's come in under budget.
Tony, could you say a little more about the involvement of any third parties in this process?
So any other third parties, I mean, anything that gets, you know, IDI, the architect engineers are a separate entity too. They're hired direct from the district. We've worked in the last few years here on campuses throughout the district, and great to work with, never had any issues with them. Same thing to local municipalities. They do their own, you know, the building inspector, MEPs, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. They'll do all their own inspections, so.
Further questions from the board?
Well, I think that the general public needs to know that we got 2 letters of recommendation, one from Mid-Michigan and one from the superintendent of Alcona schools who have used Clark, and they highly recommended by their work and their professionalism. So,
let me be clear, I'm not criticizing Clark Management or Clark Construction Services. Okay, what I'm throwing in the air here is them together. At this, okay, not the work that they have done for the district. It's the working together that I'm questioning.
Same here. I'm not questioning their work or anything like that. I'm just questioning with the construction service and the Clark company, management company.
Can you get us closer to your mic?
Same thing as AJ. I'm just questioning with 2 different companies that are the same, basically, company, is what I'm questioning, not how good a quality work they do.
To Sarah's, with the letters of recommendation, I also did talk to Pam over at Hillman Community Schools. They used Clark Construction and Clark Construction Services in a similar fashion to this, and she had nothing but good things to say about them. So I didn't get a letter from her, but I did talk to her on the phone for a good while.
So Clark Services, just because I'm not a construction person, when they finish it, let's just say it's plumbing, or what else do we have on here, roofing?
Well,
we'll have county inspectors coming in to inspect the work to make sure that it was done properly, correct? Not Clark Services, correct?
Correct, yeah, the local building officials will give, you know, their rough inspection, then they'll give a final inspection for occupancy.
Right, so, okay.
Well, but the Clark Construction, they're only doing the general trades, then they're
Correct.
subcontracting the roofing, the
Right,
plumbing,
I
and all that
understand
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
I used the wrong terminology, or not, the wrong argument perhaps. It's not so much the inspecting, it's as you're working in a project and things come up, the management contractor often makes decisions that affect more than one contractor in the job. Let's say, for just plain example, Clark Services is supposed to build a wall so that Reamer Plumbing can put the plumbing through it. If there is an issue in the design, and there is a battle between the two companies as to how something is going to go, which side is Clark going to side on? Are they going to side with the plumbing contractor, or are they going to decide with Clark Services, who has to build the wall? That's the predicament that they will possibly find themselves in.
And I would suggest that we had many of those issues. I can recall a special meeting that we had to have up here in the high school over a roofing issue at Besser under our previous construction management firm. Similar, if I remember correctly, there was, you know, yeah, it was before Simon. But quality of work was not where we wanted it, and the management firm wasn't holding the contractor accountable to the point where we had to bring them in and force them to do it. I believe the board even voted on it. I think you might have been a part of that. Yeah, so yeah, lots of things certainly can happen. I think it's a fair concern, but I would stand on the reputation of my experience, our experience with Clark thus far, the recommendations from the other organizations and school district. That they would do the right thing. I've seen them advocate for Alpena Public Schools and our community in a way that did not occur under our previous construction management firm.
Simon, question. So, looking at the whole bid package, so Clark Contracting Services came in at $721,000. Then the second apparent low bid, Graham Construction was $861,000. Is that correct? If I'm looking at, okay.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Have we used Graham at all before?
We have not.
Okay.
We have used Clark Construction Services on prior projects, though.
Okay.
Not with Woolgas in our prior. Before we made the switch to Clark Construction or Management. So yeah, our second bidder was $140,000 higher than CCS.
Is that about 25%, Tony? I don't have the other numbers in front of me, but.
I don't have the percentage, yeah, but it's got to be pretty close to that.
And then the third bidder, they weren't much over Graham, correct? 20,000.
892.9.
Correct. Yep. Pretty close.
Okay. So number 2 and number 3 came in fairly close, and number 1 is quite a ways off.
We Graham's out of Bay City. Denny's is here local. Yep. And we did post bid, obviously Clark Contracting Services and Graham, and they did have the complete scope.
And Clark was happy with their number?
Yes.
And they are local, so they're operating a local office,
Clark Contracting.
Clark Contracting.
Mr. Nathaniel, has Clark Construction used these subcontractors before?
Yes, we've used all the other subcontractors
And
in
you've
the
had
past.
good
Yep.
work with them? Okay.
Is it working now? Okay. Just before we vote, I do want to say I do agree with AJ, but considering the big difference in money, that's, you know, that will persuade me to go with Clark.
Because the difference between the Clark bid and the Graham bid is 139,600.
Correct. That is quite a large gap, so.
And between the Denny's bid is 171,525. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money.
Okay, so nothing further? Very robust discussion. Simon and Tony, thank you both. All right, if there isn't anything further, let's have a roll call.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
No.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. That brings us to metal panels.
Metal panels, I'll make a motion to award the bid from Versatile Roofing Systems in the amount of $253,000, $253,800.
Support.
Motion and support. Do we have any discussion on this item? Neither hearing nor seeing any discussion. Let's proceed with the roll call vote.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to item number 3, roofing.
I move to award bid for roofing to Versatile Roof Systems in the amount of $598,585.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support on the roofing motion. Any discussion?
Can you guys just clarify, just for people chiming in, why there's two different bids here for the same company?
Yep, they're just 2 different bid packages.
Any further discussion or questions? All right, hearing none, let's proceed to the vote.
Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to item 409A, resilient flooring.
I'll make a motion to award the bid from Stanson Floor Covering and Furniture in the amount of $2,691.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the flooring? Hearing none, let's proceed to the vote.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. That vote carries as well. Moving along to painting.
I move to award the bid for Murray Painting Company in the amount of $13,900.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the painting bid. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carries. That brings us to 23A, HVAC and plumbing.
I move to award the bid to Reimer Plumbing in the amount of $454,517.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support on the HVAC and plumbing. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no hands going up or hearing no discussion, let's proceed with our roll call vote.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, and our last item here in this section, 26A, electrical.
I'll make a motion to award the bid from Northern Power Electric Service Incorporated in the amount of $31,595.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the electrical bid. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the vote.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain? Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. That motion carries as well. And that concludes the big bid package stuff. I thank you guys for your input. Appreciate it. That brings us then to new business. Human resources. Michelle, you're up. Take it away.
We have some new staff. Rebecca Hansen is our relief bus driver. Lynn Bunting is the district float secretary. Rena Graham is a lead custodian. Brianna Kuffel is instructional assistant. Andrew Hunter is a new custodian. Erica Woodbury is a food service helper. And Jessica Bouvet is an instructional assistant. We did have 2 resignations and terminations. A couple, Stacy Cross, Carly Galvez, Kathleen Thomas, Brian Gerard, and Patricia LaFleur. And then we have some retirements. Robert Lazinski is a bus driver. He's been with us for 15 years. Julie Manning is our secretary at the high school. She's been here for 28 years. And Michelle Isley is our first grade teacher at Besser, and she's been here for 32 years. So thank you to our 3 staff that have been here for such a great length of time. Thank you.
Any questions for Michelle? Okay, thank you very much.
I move
please.
to approve the hiring of the professionals after the proper completion of certifications, testing, and HR requirements.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All right, any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to charitable gifts. Sarah.
Microphone.
Is it on? We're good? Okay. All right, we have a Great Lakes Roof Preservation generously donated pine and oak board and tape measured for the woodworking shop valued at $1,200 to support the students of Thunder Bay Junior High School. Rachel Brown generously donated popcorn valued at $40 to support the students of Lincoln Elementary. T&L Trucking Incorporation made a generous monetary donation valued at $300 to support the students of Lincoln Elementary. Dennis and Ruth Babo made a generous monetary donation valued at $30 to support the students of ACES, McKinney-Bento families in transition. The following generously donations were made to support the students of Lincoln Elementary's pancake breakfast and basket raffle. Teresa Honecker donated a Meijer gift card valued at $20. Claire Witt donated an Amazon gift card valued at $75. Alpina of Walmart of Alpina donated a gift card valued at $100. Flix donated 2 gift cards valued at $20. Big B Coffee donated a gift basket valued at $30. PepsiCo of Alpina donated cans of pop valued at $100. Alpina General Store donated various items from the store and a gift card valued at $25. North Country Candy and Gifts donated a gift basket valued at $40. Courtyard Restaurant donated a gift certificate for a large pizza valued at $30. Besser Museum donated 5 tickets to the museum and planetarium valued at $75. Domino Pizza of Alpena donated 2 gift card certificates valued at $50. Bob's Bullpen donated 8 one-hour arcade passes valued at $80. Lasting Expressions donated a gift certificate valued at $30. Laser Team Challenge donated 2 gift cards valued at $40. Emily Thatcher donated a Keurig coffee maker valued at $40. My recommendation is to accept the gifts listed above with gratitude and thank you to the donors in writing for their generous gifts.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support to accept the gifts. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor then of the motion, raise your hand. Same sign. Opposed? No? That's a unanimous vote for our gifts. Thank you all very much. Motion carried. We'll proceed then to information on proposals. We do have one letter to read at this time.
To whom it may concern, my name is Addison Weesaw, and I am a high school senior
Summer,
at Alpena High School.
Could you speak up a little closer to the microphone? Maybe I'm having a little trouble hearing.
I hope to become a special education teacher once I graduate, but some issues leave me and many others with questions about the special education system in Michigan. I have firsthand experience with gaps and inequities in the special education system, and I am writing this letter to advocate for better and stronger support of students with disabilities through full funding of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. IDEA. When IDEA was initially passed, the federal government promised to cover 40% of the excess cost of the educating students with disabilities. Excess costs include therapists, speech, physical, and occupational, assistive technology, such as communication devices and ramps, evaluation, screening fees, and medical cost. In Alpena, we are currently given $859,299 per year to fund our special education resources. That is less than 15% of the promised $21 million. Michigan as a state is shorted over $700 million annually for IDEA funds. With 83 counties in Michigan, if 40%, $1.4 billion, were split equally, each county would get over $716 million annually for special education alone. This is underfunding forces district to pull money from their general education budgets to provide services for their students with disabilities. This reduces resources for all students, general education and special education alike. The pull from the general budget places strain on educators and support staff, but also impacts general education classrooms with larger class sizes, fewer programs, and limited supplies. Not only does this underfunding affect the school system, but it also affects the families of those students. Many students with disabilities require additional support, such as added doctor's visit, therapy consultations, and some even have to make adaptations to their home to better support their children. 41% of families with students with special needs make less than $100,000 a year. Raising a child with special needs often involves significant financial strain, with cost estimates to be 4 times higher than those of a typical developing child. Potentially exceeding $2 million over a lifetime. Families frequently face a combination of high direct out-of-pocket expenses and indirect costs, such as reduced income. This lack of funding also negatively impacts the students who need it most.
And perhaps we could finish it next time. But thank you.
We did receive one other letter from a community member, but we're not sure what the connection to Alpena Public Schools is. So I'll be reaching out to get a little more clarification before we read that one.
Thank you. Okay, information and or questions from board members?
We all got an email about our photographer that we use. Did we look into that at all, or were we gonna consider, what are we gonna do with that?
Yeah, so first off, we don't have photos coming up until fall, so we have time for clarity on the issue. This stemmed from what I understand is it stemmed from a viral post about the person who has a connection in some way to LifeTouch. That person was named in the Epstein files, and I'm just reading what I read out there. This individual, I think it's Sean Black, I forget the last name. He was the CEO of a capital venture firm that purchased Shutterfly, the company. Shutterfly is the parent company of LifeTouch, who we use for our school photos. He was appointed the CEO of that investment firm back in 2019 after Jeffrey Epstein had already been imprisoned. He, I believe, either resigned or was forced to resign sometime shortly after that, or it might be somewhere here. So he was the CEO of a company that bought Shutterfly. Shutterfly owns LifeTouch. From what I've read from LifeTouch and everything else I can find, there's no real connection there. There were no breaches of security. The accusation in the viral post is that he had access to all the photos. Nothing I have read suggests that that's actually true. The good news is, we don't have photos coming up until the fall. Gives us a little more time to see what the actual facts are, and then we can make a decision. I've got 3 students currently in APS that take pictures, and I can't say that I'm all that concerned about this just because of the distance from LifeTouch to Shutterfly to this investment firm, and he wasn't there, or he was removed at some point there. So.
Yeah, I just Googled his name, Leon Black. Yeah, he owned Shutterfly, which owns LifeTouch, but he has stepped down from that position in March of 2021 following scrutiny from being in the files. So.
And from what I've read too, his dealings with Epstein were around real estate. Again, I can't verify that, but that's just what I've seen. So.
And we have flagged this for Dave and I for future meetings, so we will follow up if there's further information. Anything else? I will actually answer the question that was posed during public comment. The reason the board has not solicited a formal opinion from Coleman on that bathroom policy issue. It's just the board has not elected to move forward at this time yet with that issue. At such time as the board chooses to do that, we may solicit a formal opinion from Coleman on the issue. But right now, the individual asking the question is asking about something that could but does not yet exist, and really that's all there is to it. So I don't have anything else to say. And then just because there has been some controversy here and there, just so the board knows, from the recall effort to the letters to the editor, which I believe malign and misrepresent my character and conduct, I just want to say I forgive my detractors, and I won't let bad feelings interfere with the service and leadership that I offer to this board. I forgive them, and I'm praying for all the best for them, and that's where my head is on that issue, and I promise to continue to do my very best for this board. So, thank you. Anybody else? Anything further? If not, that concludes our agenda. If you look further, you'll see we have advanced planning, March 9th, workshop meeting, March 16th, regular meeting. Those will be both in the Jerry Ledwick boardroom on Gordon Road. And an annual board workshop on March 23rd. So you can peruse those items for yourselves. At this point, I will declare our meeting adjourned, and we'll move along to the planning session. So thank you very much.
For those of you that are not sitting at tables, you are more than welcome to sit at tables, and who knows, close proximity might warm things up a little bit. Just saying. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And board members, if you want to head to the tables too.
Yes, go ahead and go to your assigned tables, and we'll continue.
I don't want to go back in. Don't want to get back in.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Yeah, we are still working on the heat here, so. What's that? No, but we'll just do it. Hey, Eric Lawson, paging Dr. Lawson. Dr. Lawson, we have this set up as a meeting, so you have to officially open the meeting. Table 2. All right, just grab a table somewhere. Thanks for coming. Yeah, just to open the meeting.
All right, let's call our strategic planning meeting to order, and let's all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, board members, we have a motion here, a recommendation to approve the agenda. Motion, okay, great. Motion from Anna and support from Sarah for the agenda. Any discussion? Doesn't look like it. Okay, board members, all in favor of approving the agenda, raise your hand. That's enough. Yeah. Okay, so motion does carry. We have an approved agenda, and I'll have a seat and let you all take it away. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome. It is, what time is it? 7, I can't see. 7:06. All right. We would never want to rush a process like this, but we also want to be conscientious of everyone's time. So I just want to thank everyone for coming. This is the 3rd annual Strategic Plan Summit. If you were at the first one, which was this time of year on a Saturday back in 24, raise your hand. Excellent. It's great to see you all coming back. We made a commitment to you that day, if you remember, that we would continue to bring you back in this process and communicate with you and hear from you as we move forward. So really appreciate you being a part of this how many of you have been here for all 3 now? Excellent. Excellent. Appreciate that. Anyone here for the first time? All right, a couple of you. Second time? All right. Excellent. So we got a good variety here. So the idea is that back in that first Strategic Plan Summit, we talked about the strengths and weaknesses of the district. And from that, the group produced a list of focus areas, basically, for the administration and the Board of Education to work from. And over that following year, we worked to look at those priorities, strengths, weaknesses, compare it to what we were already doing in the district, what our recently, back then, adopted strategic plan had identified, and really worked to mesh all of that and update it. And so it was officially adopted in August of, not last year, the previous year, the strategic plan was adopted. And so we've been working hard. If you remember, we had a lengthy update last year, really focusing on just making everyone aware of everything that goes on in not only the schools, but in the community tied to the schools here. This year, today, is going to be a little bit more brief because we've been coming to the Board of Education meetings and updating on progress in the strategic plan. But this will be fairly informal, so if you have questions or comments, feel free to raise your hand. We do have a second microphone somewhere. Does anyone see it? Oh, we got it here. So if any point you feel like singing or sharing comments, we can roam the room and get to. I'll just leave it here for now. But thanks. All right, so just an overview. Our strategic plan has 5 goal areas: academics and programs, whole child development, personnel, family and community partnerships, and stewardship. And it's built on a foundation of continuous improvement through data, communication, monitoring, and support. And it's a collaborative process. How many of you remember posing for these pictures? This was our first session there, and then last year's. And if we are also inclined, we'll grab another picture at the end of tonight to add to it. But really do appreciate you being a part of this. Your input, we've been stressing through our each pillar, but really through our family and community partnership. We can't do this without our families, and we can't do this without our partnership with our community. So thank you for being a part of this. It looked good on the slide. It's a little bit small, but the great news is, a big piece of progress is that the board adopted goals for 4 out of the 5 pillar areas. And so in academics and programs, these are long-term goals. So by 2030, looking at math and ELA, we are hoping to increase overall proficiency. So in math, it's by 15 percentage points, and in ELA, it's 10 percentage points. And we had lengthy conversations about setting that baseline data. It will come from the 25, so last spring's assessment data and benchmark assessment. We have an attendance goal, again, by 2030. It's to achieve and maintain a chronic absenteeism rate of 10% or less at each building. So some of our buildings currently are less than 10%, some are greater than 10%, and this goal allows us to keep pushing towards getting all buildings and maintaining a lower than 10% chronic absenteeism rate. And chronic absenteeism is defined as 10% of the school year, so about 18 days or more in a school year makes a student chronically absent. In our personnel, we have an employee engagement goal, again by 2030. Using the Raymond engagement survey, we're looking to increase the district's mean engagement score to the 50th percentile or higher. And we're using the baseline administration of it, the 3.76 mean score. That was the 26th percentile. So we're hoping to move from the 26th to the 50th by 2030. And just, I will come back to this, I'm pretty sure, in my later comments, but we will be administering the Raymond, the full Q12 survey coming up here in the spring. The board is currently working on developing a goal for family and community partnership. A lot of it's been focused on two-way communication with the community and just communicating with the community. So we're working on that. And then a fiscal and stewardship, fiscal health and transparency goal. So by the end of each fiscal year, the district will maintain an unassigned fund balance of at least 15% of annual operating expenses. For every year that target is met, the board will increase the minimum fund balance requirement in the board policy by 1% progressing from the current 10% to a maximum of 15%. So currently in our board policy, it says the board will maintain a 10% fund balance. This would allow us, each year that we hit that 15%, we increase the policy language with discussion from the board from 10% to 11% to 12% up to 15%. Again, we had lengthy conversations about how do we set that. Is it good if the board policy locks you into a higher fund balance? So after much discussion, we came to what we think is a pretty reasonable and fiscally responsible goal here. Questions, comments, songs? No? Okay. So, there are many things that we aren't going to talk about today. We've been doing a lot of work in each of these pillar areas. Some of that, much of that work has come to the board meetings throughout the school year, but the bulk of it is done in the classrooms and in our administrative team meetings, our building meetings, and things like that. So really, we just want to highlight some pieces here, and then I'll refer to some other presentations. So academics and programs, we have a goal statement, just an overarching goal statement. And so it is to deliver high-quality instruction to maximize student achievement. So if you think about that board goal of increasing proficiency, how are we going to do it? Well, the primary driver is focusing on delivering high-quality instruction. And I'll touch on a few things later, but I'm going to turn it over to Melissa Jarema and John Capeless, two of our secondary coaches. Jenny Poley is the third, and she's not able to join us here today. And they are going to talk to you about our secondary curriculum. I'll get out of the way.
All right. Good evening. I'm John Capeless, and the other instructional coach just texted to ask how it went, and I let her know that we hadn't started yet, so just to get you going, we'll try to be brief. This is year 26 for me in the district, and when I was hired, the district purchased a book for us. It was The First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong, and there was a line in there that has stuck with me, and I've used it with many people, and we're not hired to teach whatever we want. We're hired to teach the curriculum. If we want to have a high-quality instructional program, as our goal states, it starts with a solid curriculum. So we're going to give you a quick update on where we're at with work on the curriculum, and it's a little bit of a process. So typically, once curriculum documents are made, they're static. There might be some minor changes, edits made, or you might find that you have some gaps and you want to make some small revisions, but they're pretty static. But we've undergone essentially curriculum update process. In some cases, it's a rewrite. And that was really indicated by a couple of things. One is changes at the state level. So for example, the state does update the state standards from time to time, and our curriculum is derived from the state standards. The most recent update was in the core classes was in 2019. That was the social studies standards were updated. And right after that, the district had some serious challenges with, COVID. So we were supposed to do that rewrite, and that was somewhat put on hold. The second thing that happened is typically curriculum is done in phases. Curriculum work typically doesn't take place during the school day. It takes place after school. It takes place during the summer. And so it's often done in phases. We have had some serious challenges that have forced us to do a lot of work simultaneously. So one is that we've had some new standards. Standards have been updated. Post-COVID created some learning gaps for students. And so what we found was that the curriculum that we had in place, we had to adjust it a little bit because we had gaps that we had to try to fix. There were students who were, had some lost instruction, and so that meant some lost skills or content that we had to insert in new places, so we had to do some work there. We've had a lot of staff turnover. Our teaching staff has turned over dramatically, and we have many new teachers, and then among those new teachers, we have several that came to education through alternative certification. They haven't been formally trained as teachers. So the curriculum documents are the foundation, and it's really important that we get that right. The Office of Curriculum and Instruction, along with the building leaders, Katie Lee and Romeo, he goes by one name, just like Cher, you know. Everybody knows him, but they have been very insistent that we get this right, because it's important to have good instruction. So we've got a quick timeline here for you. One of the things that the district did was we invested in training for our staff for the reasons that I just described. New staff, curriculum writing isn't necessarily something that you get a lot of time on in your education program. We used Teacher Clarity, which is well known to be a great way to make sure that both teachers and students know what the goals are and how to get there. And so we invested time in training teachers in Teacher Clarity. The next year, we tried to create space for teachers to do some of this work during the school day. So we continued our Teacher Clarity training, but we also had team time, which was essentially half-day increments, 2-hour increments, where staff could get together to take a look at where students were, how our instruction was doing, and how we could update it, and all of that was rooted in curriculum updates. And then from there, it was piloted with Thunder Bay Junior High students, and the next year, 2023-24, team time shifted over to the high school as well, with a real emphasis on updating our curriculum documents. So in addition to the training and the work to update curriculum documents, we also started moving for those who were ahead. As I said, this happens in phases, so some teams were further ahead than others. We also wanted to work on standard assessment. Standard assessment is important because it gives us a chance to not only tell how the students are doing with our curriculum, but also if we have issues, helps us sort of fine-tune what we can do to make sure that students are on track and improving. So we develop standard unit assessments, final exams, things like that. That brings us to 2024-25. Team time continued. Curriculum documents were well underway, and standard assessment was being developed at levels from Thunder Bay all the way through, 6 through 12. This work was in progress. If we could, I'm in charge. There we go. Sorry, I was thinking someone else was running the show. This is the timeline for 2025-26, and you can see that we have several items here. The first one is curriculum documents. We, the building leaders, with the blessing of the Office of Curriculum Instruction, set an internal deadline of February 1st to have our core classes, the curriculum documents for our core classes completed. Dave was gracious enough, and he knows how things go in schools, to make sure, he said he'd like to have that done by June, but we wanted it to be done a little bit quicker. We wanted to make sure that there was space, in case we got behind. So we are on track to meet, we have met that deadline across the board with a couple of exceptions. Economics was a class that's, just got completed. Our civics and government is, we have a new teacher, so we wanted to have that new teacher have input, and they're finishing that up. But we're on track to have everything done. We're working on standard assessment ongoing, as you can see, but we also had some investment from the district to make sure that our teachers were trained in assessment writing so that they could write high-quality summative assessments. And so the first step was to send the instructional coach team to a conference so that we could make sure that our skills were up to date and that we could train the staff. And out of that, we found an expert who we thought was fantastic and someone that Dave had worked with downstate. And we brought her in a couple weeks ago on February, it was Friday the 13th. February 13th, the staff was trained by Ellen Vorenkamp, who's from the Michigan Assessment Consortium. And these last dates, essentially, because subs are hard to come by right now, we weren't able to do team time this year. And so we've tried to squeeze in both the training and time for teachers to work during professional development time on creating high-quality standard assessments. That work's ongoing. We will continue that at our next professional development, a little bit more training in writing good assessments and a little bit more work time so that the teachers can apply what they've learned in the moment on assessments that are, upcoming or for next year. So that takes us to our curriculum documents. Melissa, you ready to take over?
Okay, so this is our curriculum template that we have for all of our subjects so far in the junior high and the high school. Some of our curriculum, when we unpacked it initially in team time, didn't look exactly like this. So this fall and during December and January, we've been transitioning some of that work into this template. So it would all look the same. So we have our subject area, our course, and then the state standard and the resource listed that's being used to teach that standard. The course description obviously will be just at the top of that template. Then we break down the standard into learning intentions, which are basically lesson-sized chunks of that standard, and then into success criteria, which is the student-friendly language that helps the students to reach that learning intention. Okay, anything else did you want to say? Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how our teachers unpack the standards. So what we do is we take the standard, you can see at the top there that this one's about math, and we highlight the verbs and the nouns. So the verbs are the skills that the students need to know, and the nouns are the content that they also need to know. So we take those verbs and those nouns and we break those into learning intentions. So those are like a progression of what they should know first and how it builds, okay? And those are our lesson-sized chunks. And then we take those lesson-sized chunks and we say, okay, what are those specific things that students need to know and be able to do to be successful in that learning intention? So those are your I can statements. Anything to add? This is the same slide without all of the underlining and highlighting, and this is what would be our published curriculum document when all is said and done.
So, as I said, the curriculum is the foundation of the work that teachers do in classrooms every day. It's important for the teachers to be very comfortable with the curriculum and the state standards. This is a roadmap that breaks it down into bite-sized chunks so that, again, the teachers know what they're doing daily and can create powerful lessons, and the students know what their goals are so that they can set goals, self-assess, monitor their own learning progress, have that metacognition and track their own progress. The success criteria are written in student-friendly language, and they literally can become the test questions. Can I do that? I can statements become can I questions. Can I do this? These curriculum documents help focus our instruction. They also help us identify priority standards so that if we do find that we have gaps or we have adjustments that need to be made, we can prioritize things. The priority standards are intended to make sure that students have knowledge that will help them later in the same course, next year in the next course. So algebra priority standards would be the things that we need in geometry the next year. And we can make sure that those skills, things that we're assessed on at the state level, and then things that will help you, later on in your education, skills that transfer to other courses. The Office of Curriculum and Instruction, along with the building leaders, prioritize team time, they prioritize training, they prioritize this curriculum work, and again, we're on track to reach our goals. Dave wanted us to mention just a little bit about the standard assessment and what we've been training to do. This slide isn't our slide, this is a slide that we borrowed from the presenter, but it essentially shows you the types of questions that teachers are asked about their tests. Are you aligned with the state standards, and are you assessing things that match the curriculum, what we're supposed to be teaching? Do your test questions match the appropriate levels of cognitive demand? Are they balanced? And do we have the equal, like if we spend 3 days teaching something and 1 day teaching another, is that correctly represented and balanced on the test? And are there enough assessment items to help us determine mastery? Did the students learn what they were supposed to learn? Just because I taught it doesn't mean the students learned it. We have to confirm that. And if they didn't learn it, we have to adjust and maybe reteach, okay? So that brings us to the activity that the presenter, Ellen Vornkamp, did. Staff essentially brought in a test that was meaningful or important to them that they wanted to work on. They broke it down into standards. They took a look at the specific test items. Were they knowledge? Were they reasoning? Were they skills-based items? Were they performance-based items if you're an art teacher or a music teacher? And did they have the appropriate depth of knowledge? And were they balanced, again, based on what the priorities are and how much time we spend in instruction? So all of this work is ongoing. We're very pleased to say that we feel that this work, both teacher clarity and curriculum work, is going to lead us toward these goals in the strategic plan and help our students perform better on standardized tests and be more prepared for whatever they want to do after they leave us here at Alpena Public Schools. So, do you want us to take questions, or are we good?
Well, sure. Let's apply some lessons that we've learned working with our administrative team. If you would, at your table, share something that was interesting or caused you questions or something. Just take a moment and talk about what they shared, and then we'll have you share out anyone who's willing with the whole group, and we'll get the microphone to you.
Okay, I didn't time myself. How do we do? Okay, good.
I didn't time it either, but you're moving right along.
Okay.
Is she watching?
No, well, she might be.
Cover everything you needed? Okay, great. Yep, okay. All right.
Can you just hear for questions?
Maybe. Okay. Sure. Yep. Comfortable with that? Yes. Good. Piece of cake? My hands are. Yeah, who knows? It's just like my hands are frozen. I'm otherwise okay, but my hands are frozen.
All right, is there anyone that would like to share, or as they say, elevate it to the whole group? And if you do, please wait so we get the microphone. That way we have it on the recording here. That sounded like a threat. I apologize. Just saying, if you talk without the microphone, people watching can't hear.
I said that I was really impressed. I was impressed by several elements of this, but one of the things that I thought was really powerful is to have the teachers in that training, to have the teachers bring in an existing test that they were using. And Romeo explained that, in fact, they went through and actually took the tests apart piece by piece, and then they could scrutinize, okay, this is unbalanced, or maybe this needs to be here, or maybe it's not at a level of knowledge, we're not going deep enough. So that was really interesting and I thought valuable.
My question was more like, how is the grade derived? If you're really after mastery, can mastery be graded, like A, B, C, D? And is there any conversation about going towards competency?
Yes, we've dabbled in the competency-based grading before I got here. It's been going on for a long time, so you want to add anything to that?
In it, I'm just moving away from the mic on the chance that we'll create feedback. We also simultaneously, while we're doing the work with teacher clarity and curriculum, we've also been looking at grades and how we generate grades, how we ensure that they're fair and consistent. Obviously, you can have multiple different U.S. history teachers here at the high school. Are we all presenting the same material? Are we creating what are often referred to as common assessments or standard assessments, so that we're checking? And then part of what Ellen trains the staff to do, and what will happen in March, is what types of questions are you asking? So do we have multiple choice tests? Do we have free response questions, document-based questions? Do we have performance tasks that show mastery? And are they backed by a rubric that's built from the learning intentions, or more specifically the success criteria that would create those competencies? Here in CTE at the high school, most of the instruction is assessed through specific competencies.
Anyone else have something they'd like to share? All right, well, thank you, John and Melissa. You are free to go somewhere warm. Appreciate you. And I do want to jump ahead to one of my slides here. That way I don't have to do it when I get to it later. When they talk about we've had a turnover in our staff, this is what we're talking about. In 2021, we retired 34 employees that collectively had 897 years of experience. The highest was 45. The average is 26 years in that group. That's a massive amount of institutional knowledge, expertise, experience, and everything that retired, and it was COVID that pushed many of them to retire at that point. Following year, you see 685 years, 27 employees with an average year experience of 25. So the interesting thing is the average years of experience through all of these years is pretty consistent, and went up to 29 years as an average in this most recent. But each year, we took a significant chunk of our experienced staff that retired, and we're replacing them with, new teachers. Many of them are not only new teachers, but new to the field of teaching, which I think they mentioned alternative pathways and those sorts of things. But I always come back to that 897 years of experience retired in 21, and then we're still seeing significant retirement going there. Nice thing, though, is a lot of our teachers, or many of them, I think we have about 30-some staff that have retired and have now come back to work for us. Tom Stappa, did you hear that? Yeah. So it's wonderful that they come back, but just to illustrate that point of, we have flipped from, a very seasoned, experienced staff to a very new staff. Okay, so then continuing on into the academics and programs, I will turn it over to Stacy Morse.
All right, hello. I'm just going to give you a quick update on our instructional coaching model. John and Melissa just gave us some great examples of the super important work that our instructional coaches do every day, and they're just so valuable. And in addition to that, they provide direct support to our teachers through coaching cycles. So with our strategic plan in academics and programs, we are charged to develop an instructional coaching model. And so this year we piloted a student-centered coaching model. So that means we focus more on what we want the students to do, how we want their behavior to grow and their learning to grow, rather than focusing on the teacher. Obviously, the coach and the teacher work together. They co-plan, there's some modeling, and there's lots of collaboration. But we're looking at student data and how we want the students to learn and grow as the focus of these cycles. So we're looking forward to having full implementation in the fall. And then we're also looking to grow our capacity and recruiting more instructional coach staffing. So we're striving for 4 secondary instructional coaches and 6 elementary for the fall. And then going beyond academics and programs, we are also looking into whole child development with our instructional coaching model. So this year, we were able to have some whole child consultants join our team. So we have 2 special education consultants. We have 1 behavior consultant who's over there at table 1. And we still have an opening to recruit hopefully another consultant in that area. And then we have an early intervening consultant who is an early childhood specialist. And so these folks, while they do support academics and programs, their lens is a little bit wider, looking at whole child development and really help teachers and teams support complex student needs. So this could be students who have disabilities or students who just have some deficits with their social emotional growth. So they help coach teachers and teams in implementing intervention plans, and they provide a lot of comprehensive professional development. So we're happy to expand our coaching team with the consultants to support our whole child development pillar, and that's really helped support a progress in our strategic plan in those areas.
All right, don't want to cut off your conversations. Is there anything that anyone would like to share with the whole group? Sounds like there's some good conversations going on there. I do have to make an announcement to our TV audience. We are having battery issues, so we may disappear, but we will all still be here, I think. All right. Instructional coaching is critical to what we do. You know, as long as I'm superintendent and you know, we have the funding, we're going to protect that because of so much of what we just talked about here. They are invaluable. All we hear is positive feedback from them. Same with the behavioral coaches and all of that. So just something we are truly committed to, and we are seeing great results coming out of it. Moving on to whole child development, in our January 12th board meeting, we went into implementation fidelity visits in great detail, and then also what we're doing around synergy and behavior data. Those are two mainstays of the whole child pillar, and implementation fidelity visits focus on teacher clarity, but also the behavior. And so I'll talk about that in just a second. But Synergy 2, that's been a long, and if you want to hear all about it, you can go back to the January 12th board meeting where we talked about it. It's been a process to get everyone on board, aligned with using the same coding and verbiage in Synergy so that when we pull data from any building in the district around behavior, it's accurate and consistent data. So a lot of behind-the-scenes work there that will let us then make better decisions based on our behavior data. So we went into it in a lot more detail. So I'm going to move on quickly. But so the other part, because at that meeting too, we went through the teacher clarity visits in great detail. The other part of that is the positive behavior interventions and support. And so when we go into the classroom, we've been committing to this process, and we have 10 teams of 4 people. There's administrators, teachers, consultants that are on these teams, and they go into the classroom and they observe, looking at teacher clarity for the learning intentions, success criteria, relevance, but also looking at the relationships. So building relationships is one thing we look at, and that's fostering trust and connection through meaningful interactions. And the other piece of that is rules, routines, and procedures. We're looking for consistent structures that guide student behavior and classroom flow. I'm pretty proud of this data point. 522 individual visits to classrooms this year, documented. And each one of those visits was in a group of people that went into classrooms 2 to 3 times in that section, and then came out and had conversations about instruction. And what we're really focusing on there is, you know, creating that shared vision, shared understanding, shared interpretation of what good instruction looks like in a classroom. Because when we're all interpreting it in the same way, that's where the real power comes in, because it means we know we're all on the same page. So 522 individual visits. It's administrators, teachers, and consultants going into our classrooms. And the format is that 4 people walk in, they record 4 individual responses, and then they talk together to create a collaborative response for that visit. So you can see there are 149 collaborative visits, visit data points. And so we're now at the point in this process this year where we can start to look at the building level and start to, you know, take a look at the data. We've been collecting baseline data because we have around 25 to 30 visits in each building. And that's starting to give us enough data that we can start to see trends, and we can have conversations around how we are interpreting the tool, what we're seeing in the classrooms. So that's the next step. Out of that, we have 3 rubric categories, initial up to full implementation. And so our gold standard that we're going for is with all of these, we're at 100% full implementation every classroom, every day. But if you go back to our strategic plan, it's built on a foundation of continuous improvement. Gold standard is we want this happening every day, every classroom. We're not there yet. We may never get to that point, but that's what we're striving for. So out of these 522 individual visits combined with the collaborative, we were at 48.3% full implementation for both building relationships and rules, routines, and procedures. That's just a slice of the data that we've collected. Again, there are so many conversations that have been going on in each visit, but then at ad staff and our staff meetings, we're starting to have those conversations looking at the broader data here to identify trends and then take action in response to them. So at 48.3, we want to get to 100%, and then the next step is what do we do? You know, how can we support our staff in getting to that 100%? This is just a breakdown. You can see these are the collaborative responses. So you're starting to have enough where you can start to, you know, see some trends in that data. And just ACEs is obviously very small, and it's hard to keep coming back into the same classroom there. So one more time, go ahead and have a conversation at your table. What was interesting, surprising, questions you have? Hold it steady at 4%. Oh, no, did we drop? I've been informed that we are at 1% on the video, so. Anything anyone would like to share with the whole group? Okay. So again, the next steps here are, as you look at this, we're starting to have enough data points at each building where their staff can start looking at this information and start to identify trends and start to identify possible responses to the data. We've been holding off on this because you really can't do much with even at this, with 19 visits. We want more visits in the building because, those 19 visits could be spread across a ELA classroom, a math classroom, social studies, science. So it'd be great to have 19 in each content area. And just so everyone knows, that's as low as we go as far as identifying the visits. It doesn't go to a teacher, it goes to a content level and a building. That's as close as we identify the data, because it's not evaluative, it's about looking at how we're implementing this thing. But once we get more and more data, then we can have a little more confidence in what we're seeing, and we'll even take a look at, is the tool designed properly, and is it doing what we need it to do? But I was steadfast that we had to have more data points before we start talking about these things. All right, so personnel is our next one, and our goal statement is, come on up, Michelle, attract, recruit, retain, and develop highly qualified staff. And I will turn it over to Michelle Vilas.
I get to talk about a privilege that I got to have just recently with our 27L funding. And for those of you that don't know, Mary can explain all the funding and the buckets and all that kind of stuff. But this was money that we got as a district for school year, for the school year. And we had to work together as a team with all 5 of our unions and our leadership team in order to just figure out what we were going to do with this money and how we were going to deal with that. And I just have to say that as we work through this, I could not have been happier, proud to say that we did a great job doing this with all 5 of our unions. This was something that I don't think we could have done a few years ago as a district. And this year, we absolutely conquered it and did so well doing it. Confidentiality in this was at the utmost, because if we left that meeting without a letter of agreement signed, then we could not have moved forward because everybody would have been talking about things. The other part of that is we signed that letter of agreement and everyone kept it confidential until we could deal with a few things that we needed to deal with, and then rolled it all out as a team so everyone was aware of everything. That doesn't happen every day in a district. I was lucky enough to go to a meeting where there was other people talking about negotiations and what they were going to do, and they had unions fighting over this money and who was going to get how much and what was going to happen, and they felt that certain people didn't deserve part of this, and that was not what happened with our team. Our team immediately came together and decided that it was a unanimous agreement that we were all going to get the same amount of money regardless of whether or not you were an administrator or any of the 5 unions. Did not matter your level, everyone was getting an equal amount. The other thing that came forward too is the district decided that we were not going to take any money out of that money to pay for any of the employer required funds, because we have to take out pension and all those other different things. And Mary was thankful enough to come up with a different solution so that we did not back that money back out of that. So that meant that employees got more money out of that 27L funding that we're going to talk about here. That being said, deciding to spread it all equally was $524,000 approximately that we got as a district. So we are going to take the methodology of dividing it by our May 29th payroll and just dividing it by the total number of employees on payroll at that point in time. We guarantee that staff hired prior to January 19th is going to receive at least $1,000 if they work full-time and $500 if they work under 30 hours. And then we prorated it for those that were only here after second semester to $500 and $250. Depending upon the number of staff that we have, we may have that number go up, so it might be a little bit more than that, but as a minimum, we will make sure that everyone receives these amounts. What we're going to do is use a calculation date of June 10th and notify the unions what that dollar amount looks like based upon the number of employees. Our payment date then would be the last day of school, the last day of school is the calculation date, and then our payment date would be the last payroll in the school year, so June 26th. And that we are all agreed that everyone has to be employed as of the last day of school. So this prevents anyone taking the money and then resigning. It prevents all staff issues, turnovers, all of those different types of things. I will say that there were other districts that said we're going to give it spring break or we're going to give it mid-year. We just want to hand this money out and be done. And that is not what any of our unions agreed to. And they all understood that this should be something that's a benefit to all staff, and it should be coming over the summer for everyone, so that if you don't get a paycheck over the summer, you have some money coming to you over the summertime as well. So there was a lot of thought that went into this, and again, the unions all working together was absolutely amazing. So I get to talk about the culture of this, and then Dave's going to go a little bit further into the Raymond survey and then how this is going to coordinate with that a little bit.
Talk amongst yourselves. And maybe this time we can have someone raise a comment. Do we want to just jump right to it? Does anyone have a question or comment or song? Still live? Yes, we are. Okay. Fourth time's the charm. Anyone have anything they'd like to share with the whole group? Tom. Microphone in here.
I think that's very important that there was this money available, because I don't think a lot of people realize the work that these people do, and all 5 unions, because it takes, it's just not the teachers, administrators. I mean, these people that are working in the aides and bus drivers and custodians, and those people are all working very hard, and a small bonus is, they're gonna appreciate that, I believe.
I agree. Thanks for sharing. All right. So then, other part of our personnel, as we talked about, our goal is raising the engagement score. So just quickly, Raymond does an employee engagement survey. They call it the Q12. It has 12 questions that have been vetted and administered to over 6 million individuals at organizations of every kind. So big 3 to tech companies to they're growing in public schools and public sectors and things like that. And from those 12, they can assess what they have as their definition of engagement, which is a state in which employees feel passionate about their jobs and are committed to the organization and put discretionary effort into their work. So we administered that 2 years ago, did the Q12, and then we administered their pulse survey last spring, I think shortly after the ice storm. And then we just signed the board signed a contract with them for 4 years that'll allow us to do a Q12 this year, a pulse survey next year, Q12 the following year, and then finish off in 2030 with a pulse survey. And I shared this with you, long pathway towards, as we saw this big turnover and we were seeing staff morale or hearing of staff morale issues, and what could we do to, make employees feel valued and appreciated. We tried a few things, our own Google survey for staff morale, but ultimately landed on the Raymond survey because it was such a trusted tool. Our first administration 2 years ago, the engagement opportunities were intentional relationship building with leadership, more and consistent targeted communication, regular and wide-scale recognition, trust building, management support, and then more time with leaders. And June 30th, if you want to go back and watch our board meeting, we talked about the pulse surveys results at that one. I didn't get the date when we originally went over this, but it is at one of our board meetings. So working from this, our building leaders and department leaders all shared, we shared the data with as many of our employees. We didn't have mandatory meetings, but we invited everyone in to come here at their department or their building or wherever it was, what the results were tied to that. And then the administrators and directors then asked the question, what can we do as a staff to improve upon this data? And so we had goals and action steps that were implemented 2 years ago, and then we repeated the process following the pulse survey. And so same thing with central office administration. We did this, and from that, back in 24-25, this communication, this appreciation, recognition theme, we did a book study on the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. And so if you've read the 5 languages of love, I think that's what it's called, same authors, they just applied it to the workplace. And it was really interesting just to have that aha moment of, number one, you appreciate people the way you typically want to be appreciated. And if you do that and the person you're trying to appreciate is not that type of person for appreciation, you may as well not do anything because they're not receiving that appreciation. So it was really just an interesting self-reflection piece for our administrative team. And we used that too as we talked through the Raymond results about appreciation, recognition, and those sorts of things. Now, there's no way you can, remember every single person's, language of appreciation, but just that understanding of recognizing, food is, well, that's not an official one, but that's my language of appreciation, and maybe someone else isn't. So as I think I'll bring donuts to make everyone feel wonderful, some really don't like donuts, and they'd rather have cash or just a slap on the back or something. But that helped our administrative team not only interact with each other, but also then it bleeds down into them working with their staff. From that, we then moved into the Hewlings and Associates executive leadership coaching, and that is for our administrative team. And that is, has anyone done that? The Hewlings and Associates, it's the archetypes and the, I forget what the other profile is called, but it's really, again, it's a self-reflective piece. But the idea is once you know who is sitting in your cabinet or your building staff and that, it helps to improve the communications. And so our goals around this were to cultivate a culture of appreciation by consistently recognizing and supporting students and colleagues through words, time, actions, gestures, and presence. And that comes both from Raymond and the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. And physical touch is one of those languages. They were very careful to make it appropriate. They really said it's not appropriate for the workplace, but a hearty handshake or a slap on the back. So if you're thinking like, what kind of book did we read? They adjusted it appropriately for the workplace. Archetypes comes from the Hewlings and Associates works. And it represents patterns of behavior and traits that leaders embody. So this helps leaders understand their natural style, strengths, and areas of focus. do I share this or not? I don't know. Anyway, so they have all sorts of different archetypes, and you take an assessment, and then they rank your type of architect. And my top archetype was a jester. I like to find humor in things and so forth. So they had me at jester. I agree. But again, it really is interesting. Our administrative team talks about what we are, and then it's like, you know, if you're interacting with someone who is the opposite of who you are, we're talking about how you communicate. And we see this. I see this daily where I send out a message. I'm also an intuitive person, which is big ideas, not a lot of details. And our administrative team is heavily on the detail side. So that's why I get these really bizarre looks at me every time I talk in cabinet, because they don't know what I'm talking about. They just want me to give them details. And I'm just up here saying, wouldn't it be great if we did this or that, or, you know. So it really changes the way we're interacting with each other. I'm seeing a lot of blank faces, so I must be not communicating with you. Jester, yeah. But so you have these multiple ways, and the whole idea behind this is how do we communicate effectively, again, around recognition, appreciation, but also trust building and being an effective leadership team. Then, of course, we take these learnings out to you know, their staff and beyond. We've woven in the strategic plan and professional development in these coaching sessions. We do have one dedicated coach, Ben, who is very good about going through our strategic plan, looking through our feedback. Each administrator has a one-on-one session with them, and then we do 2 4-hour sessions with him as a whole group where we apply what we've worked on individually and then moving the group forward. And then the administrators really do have free reign in their individual time. They can work on whatever it is they want to work on with the coach. And the idea, like I said, is establishing a shared language and learning for our administrative team. The better we communicate, the more aligned our communication is, the better it is for us as a team, which then makes its way down to the teachers, the support staff, and ultimately the students. It's that time again. Talk amongst yourselves. Choose your words carefully. What? All right. I will ask now that people have seen, it's not that difficult to share with the whole group. Anybody have anything they want to share with the whole group? Going once, gone. All right, so then our last two areas, goal areas, are family and community partnership and stewardship, and I'm putting them together for tonight's purpose, but they really are, all of them are, all the pillars are so intertwined. But in particular, what I'm going to talk about here, they're particularly connected. So the goal area, a goal statement in family and community partnership is to build and strengthen a trusting relationship with families and partners. And then in stewardship, it's to advance and maintain a long-term sustainability plan. So really, again, we talk about both community and family partnership and maintaining a long-term plan. Most recently was the Reimagine Our Future Together. We did that back in November, I believe. The survey is still on the website and it is still open. So we ask that you, if you haven't already, please go and provide us some feedback there. Well, that one looked really good on my computer, close up to me. This is just breaking down the different phases of the King Scott contract, and there's basically a couple of phases, and really we realize that we're in multiple phases at one time. They still have a long way to go with work. And they are planning to come back sometime before spring break, which is hard to believe is only about 3 or 4 weeks away at this point, to have another community forum. And so this is what we've gathered already. We met with them in January as an administrative team to go over the survey results that we had so far. So you can see we had 248 responses at that point. And red and green, red is what we heard as far as support. And so that was equity and access across geography. So, and these are statements from that survey. All students should have similar access to high quality of facilities, strong support in the results. Maintaining rural schools matters even with low number. Oh, sorry, I thought I was getting the... maintaining rural schools matters even with low enrollment, strong support. Renovation and stewardship over new construction, so they want to use our buildings versus building new. And then there was strong support for repurposing underused buildings for the community benefit. And then strong support for developmentally appropriate middle school experience. The respondents supported a dedicated middle school, 6 through 8, and there was support for K-6 schools. What we heard, concerns and opposition. Transportation increases are not viable. So the statement was longer bus rides are acceptable if they result in better programs and facilities. That was strongly rejected in the results. And transportation is already a stress point for APS families. And then large-scale reconfiguration is not supported. Opposition to 712 campuses, the K2 versus 3-5 split elementary models, and a District 5 through 6 intermediate schools. So that's what we've gathered so far. So the next idea is that we come back to the community. We met again as an administrative team to go through this and do some more activities in January, and then we will come back to the community with an updated scenarios or plan or ideas or whatever it is going forward. So again, if you haven't filled out the survey, please do, because we are using this as part of our pillar of family and community partnerships. So we have a couple of other things that are, again, in stewardship and in family and community partnerships. So I think in January, I can't remember what meeting, we talked about the Safe Routes to School survey. And so that is coming in the building principals updates this week. It's going out to parents, and then they'll do surveys with students and a little tally activity during the week to see how people get to school, to and from school. So be on the lookout for that. The Safe Routes to School grant program is basically we can gather this information and then we can do a neighborhood study of where are the improvements that we can make to getting to and from our buildings. If you walk, if you bike, or if you drive, what can we do to improve it? So maybe it is sidewalks on 3rd Street from junior high back to the subdivisions there. Crosswalks, dedicated stop sign or traffic lights on US 23 north and south in front of Hinks and Sanborn. Lincoln, we've talked about, there's just a maze of sidewalks or missing sidewalks and no crosswalk patterns. That's the kind of stuff that are available through this Safe Routes to School grant, but we have a lot of community work to do ahead of time, gathering survey data and then actually walking the streets and working with the city and township and road commission, and that's where those partnerships come in. We've already started conversations with them about those projects. And then we have also our enhancement project survey. And that is things that we would like to enhance or improve in the school, but they aren't necessary to operate the school. So weight room, playground equipment, and I came prepared with a list of other stuff, but just projects, again, that we would make it even a better learning environment, but not necessarily required in order to offer, an education for our students. So we have that list. Summer's been working very hard, thank you. Then we're going to push this out to the community this week, and it'll essentially have, for each building, it'll have a separate link, and you go in and you can see what all these projects were that were identified, and then you just rank them as far as what priority you feel those are. You're welcome to do every single one, but we would ask that if you have students at a particular building, you start there because we want as vested an interest in this as possible. But those will be coming out to this week, so stay tuned. And then what we'll do with all of that, that'll help us kind of start to put together plans of which projects do we want to start moving forward with, put some money behind, and then really we have a lot of donors that are interested in supporting the district, but the first question they always ask is, how much is the district contributing to this project? And this will give us a blueprint to where we can start talking about, what money we might be able to, was I clear enough, might be able to contribute to these projects. And then just, this is the last slide, folks, so yay. Again, with our partnership, CTE is having their expo. Is it Wednesday, the 25th? I highly encourage you to spread the word about this. This is an amazing event. It's a partnership between the business community and our school district. And you get a chance to see everything that CTE does, but also how it ties to future careers. And the people that are in those careers are actually here to meet with you and talk about, your pathway from as early as, 9th or 10th grade, but we're hoping to move it down into the junior high in the coming years here too. But we meet with the community on a regular basis. There's a CTE advisory committee where business leaders come in, they see what we're doing, and they talk about the skills and knowledge and certifications that they need in their employees, and how can we help support that process in the courses that we offer. So I would highly encourage you to join us on Wednesday, 5 to 6:30 p.m. Down in the CTE wing, and please tell everyone about it. Yes, Anna. Yeah, thank you. Open house. You can come and go as you please. So with that, that is our strategic plan update. I didn't give you a chance to talk about the last ones. Would you like to talk about the last ones? I was just noticing a pattern that we're having good conversation, but I think we're probably in a pretty good place, and we still have battery life. So If there's any comments or questions that you'd like to share, now's the time. Yeah.
When considering like congregating the schools and like consolidating them, how would that decrease busing prices? Because that was mentioned in like the letters that are published, like not the letters, but like the news articles on the Alpena Schools website with the survey. And it mentions the cost of transportation, but how would consolidating schools decrease that?
I don't think it would. You know, the hope was that it would, and King Scott really did devote a tremendous amount of time and energy to studying our transportation dilemma. And ultimately, they came away with any scenarios that we talked about would actually exacerbate the transportation issue. So our greatest challenge is our geography.
This is kind of just like a throw-out question. Is there any way to like divide the district and break it in two?
Sure.
I don't know if like how that works.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, there's always a way to do something, but it would be challenging so like you have a Alpena High School East and Alpena High School West. You would have to build a new high school, which would be extremely expensive. Then people get really territorial, as we learned from our scenarios, over where they go to school and all of that. But one of the options, and I am not talking about this as a reality, but when you look at consolidation of districts across, between two districts, that's kind of what you're talking about. I live 7 miles from Posen High School, and I'm in Alpena Schools. That would be a transportation solution if I only had to go 7 miles versus 20 into town. Or how many, Simon? 17 into town. He and I got in an argument, but so yeah, there are those kind of options, but that's not something Alpena Public Schools could do on its own. The state would be involved, and we're not there yet. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Truly appreciate you all coming, especially if you've been here 3 years, and hopefully if you're here your first time or second year, you'll come back again next year, because we'll do it at the same time, and we'll have a lot of data at that point, because really we've been building the steps and the action plans and everything, and gathering that baseline data we've been talking about. So we will close. I'll let Dr. Lawson close out our official board meeting.
And just to be sure, is there any public comment? I would not want to be accused of failing to give you an opportunity because there might have been some confusion over just comments and questions about the discussion. Any public comment? All right, seeing none, then having exhausted our agenda, I will just refer you again to the advanced planning, and I will declare our meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much for your participation and for coming tonight.